You are listening to Policybazaar.ae's The Policy Project. We've got you covered.
So there are two gifts we should give our children, roots and wings. And in the UAE, both come with a price tag. Welcome back to the Policy Project podcast. I'm your host, Shruti, for today. And today we're talking about a topic that sits at the heart of every parent's worry and every child's future: education planning. As a part of our back to school campaign, hashtag Fuel Their Future, we want to go beyond lunchboxes and uniforms. We want to talk about how parents in the UAE can protect their children today with quality schooling and secure their tomorrow with the right financial planning. Because while the first day of school is emotional, the tuition fees or the bills that come for the next 15 years is actually well challenging and financial reality checks. And to make sense of it all, I'm joined today by someone who knows this landscape inside out. Mr. Atul Kathuria, Business Head, Life Insurance at Policybazaar.ae, and Shilpa Chitanand, Head of Sales and Distribution Retail, Zurich Insurance. Shilpa, Atul, thank you so much for joining us and welcome to the Policy Project podcast.
Thank you, Shruti. Good to be here.
Thank you, Shruti. Lovely to be here.
Thank you so much. We will begin with you, Shilpa, in fact, begin with the basics. For a parent that is starting out, what does a well-designed child education plan actually looks like? And what are the must-haves they should insist from day one?
That's a brilliant question, Shruti. And you're right. We need to go back to the basics when we design education plans for our children. So first thing we need to look at is how much is this education going to cost? The plan should have an ability to tell you exactly how much you would need for your child's education, depending on the choice of career, depending on the choice of location, and the time value of the money at that time. So, what is your final goal amount? Your plan should be able to give you that information. The plan should also not be it should not be heavily charged, which means it should be able to give you the right value for the hard-earned money that parents are saving towards their child's education. And it should protect the goal. The base goal, which is children's education, has to be protected. This is something that is not compromisable, and this is not something that the parents want to compromise on as well. So, these are the basics to consider when you select an education plan for your children.
Perfect. Atul, could you walk us through how compounding actually plays out when these plans are, put into play, and why structured savings over those last minute investments is always better, even if the
Yeah.
amount is small?
So I'll take that up with an example. So let's say someone has a 2-year-old kid and they are planning much ahead before their graduation time, right? So today the kid is 2 years old, and assuming at the age of 18, the kid will need to go to college and they'll need the tuition fees and boarding, lodging, everything for that, right? So if someone, when their kid is at 2 years of age, if they start investing roughly $600 a month, over a period of 16 years, they will accumulate around $200,000, assuming a conservative growth rate of 6%. Right? So 600 per month gives you around $200,000, which is a decent sum for sending your kid to the college. Right? And versus, let's say, someone who was not planning better, and when their kid was at the age of 12 and they thought that, okay, now I need to save for my kid's education when he will go to college in the next 6 years, right? If someone starts planning at the age of 12, when the kid is of the age 12, they will need to invest around $2,300 per month versus 600, which the other person was doing. $2,300 per month to reach the same goal amount, right? And I think putting out $2,300 per month might be more strenuous on your pocket at that time. So this is why you should pre-plan it, and that is how the power of compounding helps you to save much more with little investments, right?
Absolutely. Shilpa, in your experience with UA families, when do most parents actually start planning and when should they ideally begin? And how much of a difference does this head start really makes?
Uh, so when we had a YouGov survey which we conducted recently, and as a part of the survey, what came forward that only 3 out of 10 parents actually have an education savings plan in place for their child, which is very exclusively for their children's education, not like a general savings plan. When is it that people mostly start saving? For the ones who actually do, they start saving when their children start school. They are in mid-primary, around 8 to 10 years, because that's when you're shelling out these very heavy school fees. And there is a reality check that if this is school fees, let me figure out how much I need to pay for college. And you start putting that money aside. When is the right time to start? Always the earlier the better, because the power of compounding, as Atul very rightly explained in the previous question, the earlier you start, you feel a lesser pinch on your pocket. The earlier you start, the money will grow more. So, like in India, right? If you want to get into a prestigious school in India, you enroll the child in the school when the child is still in the womb. And I would say the right time is when you know you're ready to have your child.
Correct. That actually makes a lot of sense. So, Atul, in that case, if the parent has decided to make this move in the right direction, how do you help parents decide between guaranteed return products versus market linked education plans? And what are the factors should influence this pivotal choice?
So there are a couple of things. One, because it's this investment is towards your child education, so you would want the amount to be more or less guaranteed. You will not want it to depend on market factors and so on. So you will ideally either invest in low risk funds or in debt funds, or some people who are completely risk averse might choose to invest in guaranteed products where there is no market link, right? One is that. Two, very interestingly, that if you start planning late, like if you have only 6 7 8 years to reach your goal amount, at that time you should invest in even more conservative funds, because you don't have an appetite for market risk. Because if the funds, let's say markets were to fall and the your fund value goes down, you don't have enough time for recovery, versus a person who has 15 or 17 years to plan for it, they will have time for recovery. So one, as a broader suggestion, people should invest in low risk instruments, low risk funds, even if the growth will be muted there. And secondly, if you are closer to your goal, timeline, if only 5 or 7 years are left, then you should be even more risk averse in that.
Okay. All right. And Shilpa, what additional benefits or riders are typically bundled with child education plans today? And if there's one rider you think the parent should absolutely not miss, which one would that be and why?
So you see various kinds of plans in the market, and you will say that this plan will help you double your money, triple your money in so long. It will also give you, you can also use the plan for your retirement savings. So I think the number one rule is that the plan for an education savings should be only for education savings. Do not bundle that up with any other financial goal that you have in your life. With and seconding what Atul just said, the investment in this plan necessarily should be in low risk instruments itself, because this is not something you want to jeopardize, or this is not something where you're trying to maximize your returns on. The one rider that is an absolute must and you really should have is the future premium protection rider. Life is unpredictable, things might not go as per planned, and if the parent is has an untimely death, you don't want the education goal of your child to suffer. So protecting those future premiums from unpredictable circumstances is an absolute must have rider for any education plan.
That absolutely makes sense. Thank you so much, Shilpa, Atul. I think it was incredibly insightful. And I'm sure every parent that is listening right now is rethinking not just their school of choice, but also how to make it affordable throughout the lifetime. But we're not done yet. We have something more. We've got the next segment, which is the most interesting one. Welcome to Ask Away, our favorite segment where we get real questions from our listeners and get them answered from our experts. If you've got a question, you can also send it to us about your child's future, about the insurance, or anything in your mind. DM us on Policybazaar.ae, that's on Instagram or Facebook or any of the other social media platforms. So, Shilpa, Atul, are you guys ready for the questions?
Yes, definitely.
Fire away.
All right. Atul, Ahmed is asking, personalization is often a buzzword, but how deeply can these plans be tailored based on income, education destination, and a child's timeline? And where do most advisors fall short in this?
Right. So I think child education plans, what I've seen in this market, are probably the most customizable plans that I've seen for investment purposes here. Right. One of the basic things is like you can start investing as soon as your kid is born, like 0 years of age is okay. And you can withdraw that fund more in most plans. You can withdraw it after your kid turns 16. It could be at 16, 17, 20, 21, whatever age you want to use those funds. Secondly, there's a flexibility that you can either withdraw the entire amount at one go, the lump sum amount that gets generated at the end of your investment tenure, or you can take it year by year, right? If the education is for 4 years, you can withdraw one fourth of it in year one, then year two, year three, year four. You can take it in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever the flexibility you want, right? So that is another angle of how these plans are very flexible. Then I would say the type of riders that are available are also brilliant. One, as Shilpa also mentioned, was the waiver of premium or future premium protection. So what happens is, we took an example that if you are investing $600 per month for the next 16 years, at the end of it, your child will have $200,000 for their education, tuition, and everything, right? So sadly, if the parent were to pass away in, let's say, year 2, year 3, year 4, now you have only accumulated very little amount of money, right? But what if you have taken a waiver of premium or future premium protection rider, which actually comes out to be very cheap? What will happen is the insurance company will take care of the future premiums till the entire tenure of the policy, and your kid will still have those $200,000 for their education. So one, that is a customization and also a brilliant feature to add, and it is a must have. Like, if you're taking a child education plan, you should add this rider, right? Second, one of the interesting features which I have come across is that you can add a monthly income benefit. So what happens is, these plans, they usually have a sum assured attached to them. So let's say your sum assured was $150,000, and if at all, once you have taken this rider and the parent passes away, what happens is that the surviving family member, they will get 1% of the sum assured every month, right? So that will be $1,500 every month, be it they want to use it for the fees or any other expenses, right? So this is also an interesting customization that can be done with this plan. Lastly, is something which I don't recommend, but if at all you are in a financial crunch, you can borrow against your fund value. That is also allowed, and you can return it back to the plan. Otherwise, your final maturity value will reduce. And if at all you are going through a financial crunch, you can also pause to pay premium for a year or two, right? That also, the flexibility is there.
Fantastic. I'm sure Ahmed is happy with the answer as well, Atul. Thank you. Okay, now, Shilpa, for you, Pradeep is asking, across Zurich's global product suite, what distinguishes the UAE market when it comes to education-linked savings? Are parents here more cautious, aspirational, or just under-informed?
Okay. So UAE is a very unique market, right? This is a place where we have 200 nationalities living together. We probably have not seen as many curriculums taught in schools in any other part of the world like what we see in the UAE. So the exposure that most parents and children have in the UAE is very unlike every other market. And because of the sheer exposure, parents are also more aspirational and children are more aspirational on sending their children to any part of the world to a course of choice. A very simple example with my child. When they are in school as friends, they've already decided where they want to go for their further education. The course can come later, right? That becomes secondary. So while yes, there are education counseling and you will get to a final path of where they want to go, as parents, the duty is to ensure that you are there to provide for whatever is the final choice that your child makes, which is right for the child. Uh, are parents here underinformed? Not really. In fact, I would say they have more information than many others do. At the same time, when we were building our product, which was specifically for education savings, we had to consider this uniqueness of the market. So we had to take into account the various geographies where children actually go to from the UAE. The top five geographies being the US, UK, Australia, Canada. You had to take into account the cost of living there, because the fact that children are staying in a different country, it's not just a tuition fee you need to provide for. You need to provide for cost of accommodation, cost of food, the other recreational activities that they might have, all of that. So all of that is something that we had to build into the plan, which was very unique for the UAE market, and you will not see this in our global product suite otherwise.
All right. But, actually, Atul, this brings me to the next question. There are so many options out there when it comes to education saving. In the UAE specifically, if you were to look at flexibility, protection, and consistent long-term growth, what is it that you recommend, in your opinion?
See, most of the plans in this space, they are able to offer consistent long-term growth, given you choose your funds or portfolio wisely. And what I would recommend is that you should go for waiver of premium benefit, which we covered earlier. Next, you should have an option of withdrawing your funds in 3 or 4 tranches rather than just one, lump sum amount. And lastly, if possible, you should get a family income benefit in the plan.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thank you so much. Once again, Atul and Shilpa, you made it so simple for us. And thank you so much to all the listeners who sent us all the questions. With this, we have come to the end of the podcast. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. But before we bid adieu to all the parents out there, we just want to remind that back to school isn't just a season, it is a signal. A signal to look ahead, to stop pushing financial planning down the road, to take that one step today to make your life easier tomorrow and your kids' future brighter as well. And that's exactly what our campaign is all about. Back to school hashtag fuel their future. It is live now on Policybazaar.ae. You can find the tools, articles, and insurance backed child plans that will make this process, in fact, easier and their lives easier as well in the future, more tailored to the UAE families just like yours. If you've got more questions, remember, ask away. Always. DM us on Instagram. It's Policy Bazaar UAE. That's our Insta handle. This is me, Shruti, signing off, and this was the Policy Project Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, remember, protect smart, plan early, and parent confidently. Thank you. Bye bye.
You were listening to Policybazaar.ae's The Policy Project. We've got you covered.